Mercury will be in retrograde from July 18th through August 11th. Now, this retrograde this time around, okay, is not going to feel as harsh as the last retrograde in Pisces. However, we are in heavy retrograde energy, so I'm sure, we all probably will get some energy confused with Mercury. The retrograde that is going to kick us in the butt will actually be Saturn retrograde, which is also happening right now as Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, hooray, hooray. However, Mercury itself is not going to be so harsh. Okay, Mercury is not going to talk to many other planets while in retrograde, so we are fortunate enough to have at least that. Okay, there are two aspects that happen while Mercury directly to Mercury while Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, there's a conjunction with the sun. All right. And then at the beginning of the retrograde, there is sextile energy to Venus. Okay. So it's not, it's not any terrible aspects or things that, not square energy, right? There's no square energy to this retrograde. It's just sextile, which is opportunities that will present themselves. That's not good or bad. It's just opportunities, period. And then a conjunction is working together with the sun. The sun is coming in, and shining a light on Mercury, and we got to figure out what that is. Okay, so there's really only two aspects that we really need to worry about in Mercury retrograde. Hooray! Now, Mercury retrograde is going to bring opportunities, right? Because every retrograde has its purpose, okay? So this retrograde, Mercury being in Leo, is going to bring opportunities to kind of refine your creative activities or the things that you do, the things that you take pride in, how you think about things. This could be how you perceive things, like how your mind can be a bit dramatic, or how your mind can be creative, how you can refine that energy. Okay, it can be around how you've shown up to communication or how your logic is processed, based in ego and pride. Opportunities to kind of reflect, restructure, or repair energy as it relates to how you communicate, and the pride that you communicate in, the ego that you communicate in. Okay, this will bring opportunities for us to reflect on, repair, restructure, energy around us showing up as if we know everything, right? We have all the answers. We just know, because Leo energy, my pride, my ego, I just know. I'm wrong, though. You're wrong. What are you talking about? You're wrong. I'm right. It's opportunities for you to kind of take a step back and change your perspective. Okay, so this is the energy of Mercury retrograde in Leo. Okay, those Leo attributes, which is pride, ego, charisma, creativity, drama. All right, and how your mind is processing based on those attributes, right? That is what's coming back to us in retrograde. So let's jump right into the signs. Again, I'm going to do my whole spiel. This will be most accurate if you look at this based on your rising sign, okay? Because this will encompass where this energy will show up in your life, okay? But if you want to look at this from your sun or your moon sign, your sun sign would be in relation to your perspective, your focus, your attitude, your ego, and your pride, okay? And if you're looking at this from a moon perspective, this will be reflective in like your home, your internal security, your instincts, and your intuition and your emotions. Okay, so that's how you will process it. But your rising sign, right, is most accurate to understand where or what will be popping up. Okay, so let's Capricorn. So Mercury is going to be making its way through your 8th house. So Mercury is going to be in retrograde in Leo. All right. So your 8th house is your house of transitions. Okay. It's honestly a trick bag house. Okay. It's a lot of stuff that's in there is inheritances, wills, past, secrets, you know, other people's money, spouses' money, karma, your debts, right? So there's an emphasis here on transition because really that's what it's about. Transitions, right? And how you operate in that, right? How that plays a part in your ego, your pride, how arrogant you are, transitions, how courageous you are within moments of transition, right? How you express yourself within moments of transition. Okay, so Mercury, right, the planet that rules over the mind, is going to be traveling through the 8th house for you, and it is going to provide opportunities for you to reflect, restructure, repair energy within that realm of life. Okay, so this is heavy emphasis on transitions for you. All right. So as Mercury goes into retrograde on the 18th, Mercury is going to be communicating with Venus. Okay. There is going to be sextile energy between Mercury and Venus. Mercury, right, in the 8th house, right, which is working on your transitions and how you show up there, fire energy, actions within those transitions, you know, how it is you express yourself there, right, or how it is that you come across, right, is going to be talking to Venus. So Venus wants to provide, you know, peace, love, happiness, and abundance. All right. Venus is the creator, is the relation. Venus is the planet that rules over relationships. Okay. Right. Venus rules over appreciation as well. Right. And in the 6th house is where Venus is, the 6th house of Gemini for you, Capricorn. All right. So there's something here as it relates to your daily routines, your habits. Now, the 6th house and the 8th house, both are houses that rule over your health, illness, sickness. Okay, so we're going to go in that realm because that is what those two houses have in common. All right, so in this particular moment, right, you may have, you know, a family member that is unfortunately ill. Okay. And what this is speaking of, it is how courageous you are in this realm. There's somebody here that could possibly have an ill family member, right? And now your routines, your habits have changed, right? Because now you care for this family member, or you had a family member, right, that transitioned. Okay. And now your way of life, your habits are completely different and you don't even know what to do, right? You have cared for this family member for so long that your schedule has been solely impacted by their health and their illness, and they have transitioned on to the spirit realm, right? And now you're left with this empty hole in your routine. You don't know what to do. Right. You don't now I'm starting to feel sad because I do feel like this is for someone, right? This is like now you don't know how to create new routines for yourself because you're in the process of grieving, right? Rightfully so, right? This is your 8th house, right? However, right, we're gonna put some goodness, sprinkle some goodness on this, right? This is kind of like Venus is in that 6th house of routine. Right. So Venus is like, look, you know, this person is sad. Right. This person wants to find happiness in their routines. This person wants to enjoy life. They spent, you know, a significant amount of time caring for their loved one. And now what they really need to feel at peace, to feel that happiness, to feel that abundance is a new routine. Now, Mercury in the 8th house, right? Mercury in retrograde is like, oh, okay, I think we might be able to make that work. Now, the 8th house represents wills, right? Inheritances. So now Mercury is like, okay, bet. So now, right, All of a sudden, you might get a call, and this is that sextile energy on the 18th. All of a sudden, you might get a call from a lawyer, right? Your family member has transitioned, and you get a call from a lawyer about this unknown policy or this unknown trust that this person set up while they were ill. And it's a trust that will, you know, regularly pay out funds to you on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, whatever it is, right? And now all of a sudden you have this new stream of income, right? Because you took care of your loved one, right? Therefore, they took care of you after, right? And now you have the opportunity to really change your routines. You don't just have to work anymore. Right? You can find a career, or you don't have to work at all. You can do what you want to do because now you have this trust that will automatically pay you, you know, on an incremental basis, right? It's that type of energy, right? So this is kind of like creating new routines for yourself, right? The opportunities to create new routines, as Venus in the 6th house of routines is communicating with Mercury in the 8th house of transitions, right? So now Venus is like, all right, let's really blow their mind, right? With something that can be positive and beneficial, right? So that is that sextile energy. And this is, again, the 8th house is a trick bucket, okay? This is the past, it's secrets, it's mystery, illnesses, sickness, it's other people's money, spouses' money, right? It's sexuality, like it's so much in the 8th house, right? So this can be anything, okay? I was just using that as an example, all right? And then on the 31st, right, we have a conjunction between the sun and Mercury. Now, this is the second conjunction of the year because the sun and Mercury already had a conjunction. Guess where that conjunction was? In the 6th house. Yes, where Venus is. Yes. They already had a conversation. They were sitting together talking in that 6th house, and the Mercury and the sun is like, oh man, we see that she is putting in a lot of work for this, you know, this family member that is ill, you know, and you know, we see where this is going, okay? And as we go through the 7th house, which is a house of legal, right? They're like, okay, we see now what's going to happen, right? The 7th house of long-term bonds and legal matters. Both the sun and Mercury pass through that house, right? So now your loved one gets the idea, oh, I need to create a trust, right? This person has shown up for me. There was nobody else there for me. I need to create a trust and make sure that this person is taken care of because they took care of me, right? And I can't take it with me. Right now, they are secretly, you know, writing their will and, you know, creating this trust for you. And then Mercury and the sun get to that 8th house, and now they're having another conversation. They're like, all right, cool. We facilitated, you know, in the background for this person to be made okay. So now Mercury is in the 8th house, and Mercury and the sun are talking, and they're like, well, you know, I just talked to Venus. Mercury is like, I just talked to Venus in retrograde, and, you know, this person is sad, right? And, you know, even though we have set up, you know, a trust fund, that doesn't erase the grief. So how is it that we can adjust so this person can still create that new routine in that 6th house, right? But also find happiness around that. Like, how do we do that, right? So now, all of a sudden, because the 8th house also represents your past, you fell out with, you know, many of your friends because you had to go and take care of your loved ones. Then all of a sudden your friends are popping back up again, right? No hard feelings. Now you get to really talk about, maybe you were in secrecy. Maybe you did not feel comfortable explaining why you had to disappear, you know, for whatever reason. And now these friends are popping back up with no hard feelings from the past. You dropped off the face of the earth, and they like, you know what? I understand. I don't have any hard feelings. Like, let's go on and let's pick up where we started. We love you. You know, we good. We good. Let's transition away from this. We good. Right? And now you have your friends back. It's like that type of energy, right? It's a positive type of thing. You positively were selfless, right? With that 6th house, and you had a duty and you stuck to that. Therefore, you were rewarded on many different levels. That is how Mercury, Venus, and the sun are going to be communicating, okay? again, this is the 8th house is a trick bag, right? So this is not going to be the same, nearly the same for all people, right? There's going to be many, many different things. This really depends on how you are aligned. Are you aligned to your highest and greatest good? This is an example of, okay, you had a sick person, you stuck to your duty, and now you get rewarded for that, right? There is cause and effect. Or it could be the opposite, right? Where, you know, same scenario, but you did not take care of the person, right? And now you cut out of the will. You don't get no money, right? And now you see how it depends on what you decided to do. Now you couple that with Saturn in retrograde, right? Because we got Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto in retrograde at this exact moment, right? These are all lessons. What it all boils down to is lessons, Capricorn, okay? So again, this is I think the Mercury retrograde is, I don't even want to say a positive energy, but it's just very light, right? Because of all of the other things that are happening already. Very light energy, very light, okay? So I hope this reaches you well, Capricorn.